What's going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA. I'm here with Shaun Gilday from CombatSportsNation.com, and we have some news for everybody here about UFC 200. Let me fix the screen really quick. Shaun, how you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So, we had a great weekend. This whole week was surrounded by MMA, Muay Thai, and I was lucky enough to get to see you over at Lion Fights 30. Um, how was your trip, man? Mine was amazing.
It was amazing. I know we had touched on it earlier in the weekend or at the start of the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. I always have a lot of fun at Lions Fight. Hopefully, we'll be speaking with Sergio soon and their champion, and a little bit more coverage with Lions Fight as well. And then we have UFC 200.
Yeah. And that was an amazing weekend. I mean, it's getting a lot of mixed reviews, but I thought it was an amazing event. And if we look at it, it was covered by two women fights, the main event and the prelim fights.
Yeah, it was a lot's being made about the title changing hands so many times and how Ronda Rousey, was able to hold on to the belt and defend the belt. So some people are saying, look at how dominant she was, and I'm not taking anything away from her, but at the same time, it's sort of a level playing field. That yes, she was dominant, but since she's come on the scene, there's the level of competition has changed too. So even though the belt once again changed hands again this past weekend, I thought it was an amazing fight. A little hard to watch to see Tate go through such a pounding, such a beating, but it was a hell of a main event.
And also, I mean, it was from July 5th through July 10th. RDA versus Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez is now the new champion, and a lot changed. Joanna holds the belt. It was an exciting weekend. I've been seeing a lot of bad reviews for it, and I don't know what they were watching, but I was glued to my seat. Even at Lion Fights, I was watching UFC Live. It was definitely an amazing event. But when you compare it to UFC 100, does it do it for you?
I was impressed. I was impressed throughout the whole event. It was sort of confusing because there was, I'm watching the undercard, and oh, look at that! I'm a popular guy.
Oh, I like that song.
You're like, that's classy, right?
That was like the first cell phone ringtone.
Touche. Let's see here. So, but it was funny because I was watching it and I was like, wow, this is an undercard, or this is a Fight Pass fight, to where, like Joe Rogan had said it numerous times, some of these fights were fights that could have headlined pay-per-view events, but definitely fight night events. So with third fight in on Fight Pass to watch Joe Lowe's pretty crazy.
I mean, the first three fights all ended by TKO in the first round. I mean,
in the first round.
All right, so let's start with that. Let's start with UFC 200 prelims really quick and relive that pretty much. Sage Northcutt came back in, and we all had our eyes on him to see what he was going to be able to do. We watched him lose that last fight. He tapped out pretty quick. He came out to say that he had a sore throat or something like that. And here we saw so many improvements, if you ask me. He got put in that armbar, that nasty armbar. It looked like his arm was literally about to break. Dude, I can handle some stuff. I went to EMT school, but when I saw his arm stretch out, I knew what I was about to see, and I turned away. Somehow he got out of that, and he made some improvements. What did you think about that fight?
This is the thing. I know I was excited to see him persevere through that. And the reason why that is because I feel as if there's a lot of people hoping that he faltered again. The backstory behind him, a lot of people really, which isn't really even behind him, the backstory behind his dad, a lot of people don't care for, consequently don't care for him, is not encouraged by his, don't want to see his success. I was happy to see him persevere and actually get out of that armbar and win the fight. So kudos to him. Congratulations on him. But I do know that there is definitely some people rooting against him to see him falter once again.
I mean, and a lot of the argument is that everyone was saying it might have been too early for him to join the UFC. And, you know, he lost that last one. And like you were saying, a lot of people were watching to really watch him fall and fail because Dana White brought him in and his backstory.
Yep.
But, man, he did amazing if you ask me. He's a young fighter. And if he did lose, then we can go ahead and say, you know, maybe it was too early. But nope, he weathered the storm. He put on an exciting fight. And ended the fight. So congratulations to Sage Northcutt. I'm excited for his next fight, and I think he is ready for the UFC after that fight. He really proved himself.
So if we're looking back, you know, I always like to do numbers at a glance and quick results. If you go to combatsportsnation.com, right on the homepage, it's got the numbers at a glance and quick results for all 3 events, the 3 UFC events and Lions Fight events. If we're just looking at, you know, Saturday, 12 fights, 5 finishes, 1 submission in the first round, 4 knockouts in the first, all in the first, and then 7 decisions, all unanimous. They did not do a fight of the night. They only did 4 performances. Amanda Nunes, Cain Velasquez, Gegard Mousasi, and of course,
Joe Lauzon, of course, because do you have the numbers in front of you? He has like one of the most fight of the night performance bonuses of all fighters in the UFC. Do you have those numbers?
I'll pull it up right now.
And I'm so sorry because the way I usually start the show is I usually do my intro song, but I've been having a lot of problems with the monetization of that, and I need to find a new intro song. I'm an artist, so I might have to write my own.
Oof.
But honestly, I usually start the show off with a formal introduction. And if you guys have never watched the show before and you have no idea who I am or who that is up in the box, I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Make sure you guys subscribe below. We have a weekly podcast on iTunes and PodBean.com. I write articles for ProWrestlingAuthority.com, keeping everybody up to date. We're trying to work together as MMA journalists. Me, Shaun, Steve, everyone. You know, there's not many good MMA shows out there, and I just want to let you guys know, Shaun from right up above me is from CombatSportsNations.com. Definitely go check out his website, and you can find him on Twitter as well. What is your Twitter name, Shaun?
It's Combat Sports with no vowels and then Nation. So Combat Sports Nation, no vowels and Combat Sports. We're growing that Twitter page and maturing it, doing it organically. Trying to interact with the people that do interact with us. Facebook, we're having a lot of success there. We love everybody who goes and supports us here there on Facebook, and we appreciate you giving us this platform as well. And I was going to ask you about your opening. I didn't hear it today, but you know, we'll keep it.
I know a lot of the people that follow the show, the MMA family, they really enjoy the opening and how I do it. But, you know, my last video got almost 1,000 views, and I'm not going to see a single penny because of that song. So, I had to take that down and, you know, try to work out the kinks of that. But anyway, I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. That's Shaun from Combat Sports Nation. We're talking about UFC 200 prelims, and we were just talking about Diego Sanchez versus Joe Lauzon. The Nightmare saw a nightmare, really, in Joe Lauzon. That fight was ended in the first round. Definitely deserving of a fight of the night bonus. Do you see his numbers in front of you?
I do. I have them up. One performance of the night, and I don't know if these numbers are prior to Saturday, but definitely one performance of the night, 6 fight of the night, 1 knockout of the night, and 6 submissions of the night. So 12, 13, 14. And again, I'm not quite sure if that performance of the night, if he had already gotten that, but there you go. That's and he's up there. He's probably first or second, tied for first or there in second for the number for the most in UFC history.
Wow, that's amazing, man. And we've never seen anybody finish Diego like that either.
No, and the thought that's crossed my mind, and I don't know if it crossed other fans' minds, but yes, he was finished in devastating fashion, and Joe has the ability to finish anyone, anywhere on the ground or on the feet. but I really had to consider, was he able to finish Sanchez the way he did, because some of the battles that Sanchez has been in,
Yes.
you know, after taking those bumps and bruises the way he has, and in those knocks, you know, has that affected his chin and his ability to go ahead and be in those wars like he was in the past?
Definitely. That was an amazing fight. So yeah, then after that was the Sage Northcutt fight, which we already talked about a little bit, and you know, he really did prove himself. So after that, it was T.J. Dillashaw in the rematch against the Sun Sao. Before I give everyone my take on it, what was yours?
You know, I'm not a big TJ Dillashaw fan. I don't dislike the guy, and I don't dislike him as a fighter. So I watched it, but I wasn't really that engaged. You know, if I'm going to watch that style of fighter, which there's very, very few styles, people who can emulate TJ Dillashaw's style. But if I was to watch somebody's style like that, I'd watch Cruz's. So I watched the Dillashaw fight. I don't really want to say too much about it because I wasn't really engaged in it. But it did, from what I watched, he used the typical TJ Dillashaw style, which is a successful style to beat Rafael in their second meeting. And,
and he's made a lot of improvements moving out to Colorado with Bang. And
yep.
There was a lot of drama surrounding that. That last fight with Dominic Cruz, you know, he did lose that. So he really had to put on a show here, and I think he did a great job executing that. I did want to see a finish. I'm pretty sure that ended in a decision.
Yep,
but I think he won every single round, in my opinion.
Yes, and as well as in the judge's opinion also. That was 30-27 times 3. And, you know, he just looks dominant. I mean, he does look dominant. Unfortunately, the one guy he needs to be dominant, dominant in front of, or a dominant over, I guess I should say, is the champion. He just has not been able to do that.
Yeah, and you know, he tried for 5 takedowns. He landed one of them, so that was definitely pretty big. And he landed 64 out of 195 significant strikes. That's a lot, man. Almost 200 significant strikes.
Those lighter guys are just high output. Definitely high output.
Yep.
And then Johnny Hendricks is a guy that I'm just. There's myself and so many other people through Twitter and all the social media handles were blowing up. You know, hashtag UFC 200 was trending. It's probably maybe even trending still.
Probably.
But Johnny Hendricks does not look like the guy, and many people agree, that ruled the division not so long ago. He just sort of looks like a mid-tier. If we're being honest, he just sort of looks like a mid-tier guy, and not necessarily somebody who, like I said, was champion at one point.
And you know what? We talked about this before the fights, and we said this. It's going to come down to the age. The age difference there, he was 24 going up against Johnny Hendricks, who's almost 40, and you're totally right. Doesn't look like the guy who beat up GSP. Doesn't look like the guy who we saw a couple years ago for sure. Kelvin Gastelum is an amazing opponent as well. And honestly, though, we kind of saw this coming for Johnny Hendricks. He's been struggling lately. But that was an exciting fight, no doubt, but a hard one because it was such a deciding factor for both fighters.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to say it. It was a big deciding factor of who's moving on up and who's going to falter, not just down a couple rungs, but definitely going to fall down the ladder. Kat, you know, I'm pretty sure there's so many Kat Zingano fans and so many disappointed people to see her lose the way she did, because
let's definitely talk about that. She came out in the first round. We were all so excited to see her come back. She dominated in the first round, but then all of a sudden the momentum change was the tone was set from round 2 and 3, and Kat just couldn't find her way out of it.
No, she couldn't get out from underneath Pena. She just couldn't do it, and Pen is just so young. You know, I feel young in the sport to where she's really, really going to have a lot of success. And some people think that should be the next fight. the next championship fight. Which, I mean, you can't really, if you're looking at MMA math, it would make sense. I mean, Kat has beat Tate and Amanda. Amanda just beat Tate. Juliana just beat Kat. So I mean, if you're really working the MMA math, it could just get crazy, but very well could be Pena versus Nunes next.
Definitely.
All right. How many fights does Pena have actually?
Juliana Pena.
Yeah. Let me see here.
She has 11 fights. She's 9-2.
Young.
So Cain Velasquez versus Travis Browne, another exciting fight. We were all looking forward to Cain to coming back and seeing what he can do. We all knew he had a couple problems here and there. He had one knockdown on Travis Browne and just rocked him solid in that first round. There was only a couple seconds left. I think it was in the last minute of that first round when the fight was finished. How did Cain look to you? I thought that was a very exciting fight. He looked amazing.
It looked like as if he hadn't had any time off. He looked as if 4 months ago he was in the octagon and just tearing stuff up, So against a dominant fighter, So it's not as if it was a warm up fight. Obviously, it's UFC 200. It wasn't going to be anything less than a heavyweight clash of epic proportion, and that's what I thought it was going to be, but really it wasn't a clash at all. It was just Cain whooping his ass.
And you know what? Travis, we all know, has a chin. He can go in there and put up a fight. We saw that in their Arlovsky fight. This was everything I wanted it to be and more, and I know a lot of people were saying the same thing. And as I'm reliving these fights, I'm just really realizing this really was an amazing event. I don't know what everyone's talking about. So Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar, an instant classic.
Just I wouldn't even really want to say much about it. It hurts my heart because the thing is that I had recently wrote, what is the motivation for a fighter to fight a guy a third time after he's beaten him twice? And same thing, what is the motivation, which I'm sure there's more motivation behind the guy who's lost twice to want to fight that guy a third time. But I mean, unless Aldo loses to what should be Conor McGregor next, then I really don't see Edgar getting that title shot at featherweight because he's already lost. He's already lost to Aldo twice, and I just
so unfortunate too. Conor McGregor did you see the picture of Conor standing there like American Psycho?
Oh my goodness. The depth of field of that picture was just so classic. It was
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, it was very good. What do you think about that fight? The Edgar Aldo fight?
Well, Frankie was putting a lot of pressure on Aldo, not giving up, and we all wanted to see Aldo, start using those leg kicks. Frankie tried to take him down 11 times, and he didn't land a single takedown on Jose Aldo. Everyone was calling me crazy once again for picking Aldo, and, we all knew that this was going to be a crazy fight just because the outcome of it was going to be one of the biggest fights of the year or history. Who knows? Definitely one of the biggest rematches in history, Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor. We all wanted to see Frankie fight him at the Gardens. We were all looking forward to that. But, man, Jose really put on a fight, showed us all that he still got it. He's still a killer.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Frankie's going to have to take a step back, but I still think he's right where he is at number 2, and we're going to have to just wait.
Yeah, he did lose to Jose Aldo, but
twice now.
He's still third in the division. I mean, McGregor, Aldo. I still look at him as the third guy in that division. Still one of the top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world. I mean, he lost to one of the top 3 pound for pound fighters in the world. So he's still up there in my top 10.
Definitely. Well, that division is just so scary right now up there. So, all right, then we got into DC versus Anderson Silva, and I definitely want to talk about this for a second because the way that this fight happened, the way everything came about, DC really stepped up to the plate here, and same with Silva. They really put this fight on for us. It wasn't for their record. It wasn't for their career. It was for a celebration of UFC 200. A lot of people were booing. DC had to do what he had to do, though. What's your thoughts?
Afterwards, he had said just that is, I did what I had to do to win, which tells me that he knew, and you know, I don't have it here, but you can go on YouTube on, I believe it's UFC on Fox on YouTube, and you could hear his post-fight interview addressing, you know, the fans booing. But he fought a smart fight against arguably the greatest of all time on 3 or 2 days notice. He addressed the boos, and you know what? The boos were there, but as a hardcore MMA fan, somebody who understands the sport, understands the magnitude of fighting a guy in those circumstances like Anderson Silva, he did what he had to do to beat the, you know, one of the greatest ever. And I don't fault him for that. Do you fault him at all for that?
Well, on top of it, Anderson Silva just had gallbladder surgery not too long ago, one. And he literally came there just for the fan expo to sign autographs. He found out about it on the 11th hour. You know what I mean? He stepped up to the plate. You know, we all knew Anderson Silva was undefeated at that weight class.
Yeah.
So you know what? Just for him taking the fight on short notice really showed us that, you know, he really was putting this fight on as a celebration for us. So I just wanted to say that and address that because, you know, a lot of people have been complaining about this, which gets us into the next thing. Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt. Another fight where I was called crazy, but it really was the flip of a coin here. Mark Hunt, everyone said was going to knock him out in the first round. I said I thought it was going to be finished in the second. No one really understood that. But here we went. 3 rounds it went, and Brock looked amazing coming back after 5 years. And what's your take on it?
I thought it was great, and exactly what it is that we had said is, or what I had said, you had agreed, is it's going to come down, little cliche, but to that fighter who best executes their game plan, and their game plans were the complete opposite end of what the fight was going to be. Hunt needed to execute what he was superior at, and that was the striking. Brock needed to go ahead and execute what he was superior at, and that was, you know, getting the fight to the ground, and he did that. You know, some people say that, you know, well, he had success. He stood in front of Mark Hunt and took some punch. I don't really think he did. He was backpedaling pretty much the whole time when they were on his feet. He was tentative, obviously, making sure he didn't want to get knocked out. But he fought a smart game plan. He was able to execute. I don't necessarily think like people are trying to say, well, he stood on his feet and hung with one of the top strikers. He didn't really. He just was able to stay out of the way of any major punches and just found his opportunity to take the shot. What do you think?
Well, he got 4 out of 8 takedowns on Mark Hunt, which I thought was very, very impressive. And those punches that he was laying on Mark Hunt, once again, I went to EMT school, dude. I had to look away once again because I thought his head was going to literally smack. I thought we were going to see Brock Lesnar's 4XL glove go through his head. I felt so bad for Hunt. He was just trapped underneath him, and he laid a vicious ground and pound on him. So I thought it was a very exciting fight. What did you think while we're on this fight? Well, what did you think about the promotion of the WWE that they did during the event?
Weird.
It was a little weird, right?
I know, you know, I was chatting back and forth on Twitter, and a lot of people were just like, "This is madness." You know, get past. We don't want to see. We don't want to hear about this. That's one thing. Great. The UFC is, you know, the UFC fans get to see Brock Lesnar, and you know, vice versa with the WWE fans. But I know that I know the UFC fans for the most part didn't really want to see those promos. You know, they were there. The fight fans, the WWE fans are more likely to become UFC fans, I feel, than UFC fans are going to become WWE fans. So I know a lot of the mixed martial arts fans were just like, let's move on from these.
And since this is a live stream, we're about to get into the very last fight, the headline of UFC 200. But since it's a live stream, I do want to address, if you're just tuning in and you have no idea who I am or what I'm doing talking about this or who that is, I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. You can find my podcast on iTunes every week, keeping everyone up to date, whether they're on their ride to work or they're at the gym. Stay on top of all your MMA news, bright and early, whatever time of day it is. That guy up there, that is Shaun from Combat Sports Nation. You can find him on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Shaun, what's your Twitter tag, boss?
CMBTSPRT Sports. So it's Combat Sports with no vowels Nation, Combat Sports Nation on Twitter. Go ahead, follow us. We'll do our best to bring you news on the national level and the local level here in New England. And yeah, so the final bout, to top it off,
And wait 1 second before we talk about this. I just want to address what we started the show off with. That UFC 200 was headlined both on the prelims and the main event of two women fights, and this is one of the biggest events. I just want to take time to say that this sport has come such a far way, and that is all the proof you need.
Yeah, and Mike Goldberg, he said, just a couple years ago, a year or so before Ronda Rousey, Dana White had made the remark, never will there be female fighters or female divisions in the UFC, and yeah, he definitely is eating those words now. Like you said, highlighting the preliminary card on Fox Sports, one with the female bout, and then the main event.
And the night before, Joanna versus Claudia.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, so Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes. This was an exciting fight. No one really know what to expect. But Amanda went in there in such dominant fashion and really just busted open Miesha Tate's nose, and you could see how much blood she was losing, and the fight just slowly fell out of her, and we just saw her drained, and it almost seemed like she gave up, kind of. I want to say not gave up, but she got beat up pretty bad, where she must have been in a lot of pain.
Oh yeah.
And Amanda did an excellent job executing her game plan, putting the pressure on, sealing the win, and becoming the new bantamweight women's champion.
It's we were so excited. I was so excited to see Miesha Tate win the title. We all know, and the fashion that she did. We all know from previous experiences watching Miesha Tate that she is somewhat a slow starter, and if you're really looking at it this past weekend, that bit her in the ass for sure, because there's no way she could have rebounded from the onslaught that Nunes gave her in the first round. If it was to have made it out there with her nose broken, just beat up. That would be the best thing to say. She was beat up.
Very bad. Yeah, I felt the pain as soon as I saw that nose and how much blood was coming out, and then she got put into that choke. And I was like, oh no, this is definitely about to be over. So that was the end of that. Now Amanda Nunes is the first openly gay or lesbian champion the UFC ever had. We don't know if there has been one in the past, but she is the first open. And in this day and age, that even shows how far not just the sport has come, but how far us as human race has come. And I know there's a lot of drama going around, a lot of back and forth going on between drama, and we're all human. UFC, it shows us this is a national, around the world. People are watching. Fighters are coming from around the world and celebrating. The sport's been going on forever, and they put on one heck of a celebration this weekend with International Fight Week. I was happy to be a part of it. We also got to go to Lion Fights 30. It was in a busy week, but we made it through, and there's a lot to talk about. So thank you for summing this up and reliving this event with me. I'm all hyped up again. I got to calm down now.
No, And talk about hyped up. I know we were gonna have a segue going into the next topic, because I have limited time today. Hopefully,
Yep.
we're able to possibly speak to the fans later on the week. But just to touch on this huge thing from last night. I've had a couple very late nights this past week, or early mornings, depending upon how you want to consider it. Last night I was hoping I can get to bed a little early. I'm in bed. I'm checking all notifications from this past week. I'm a comic book nerd, so I was in some comic book groups, just looking at some comic books. The next thing I know, I shoot over to Twitter and I read the UFC has been sold.
And what a time for them to do it, because it was after an exhausting week, so we really didn't have much fight left in us to say anything about it. Just like, all right, we'll talk about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was 1:23 this morning, Monday morning. I got up from the bed. I was like, I can't go without posting and putting something up. I believe it was Damon Martin, who from Fox Sports, who story I first read. His was the first story that was published, that came across my news feed. I did a little short summary, but then linked his article, his write up, editorial regarding it. And yeah, $4 billion. They purchased it in 2001 for $2 million, and they just sold it for $4 million. Pretty impressive.
Which is 5.2 in Canadian. So it's even more impressive.
Look at that. I don't think they pay taxes there either. I don't know how that would work out taxes. It's crazy, from a fan standpoint, a journalist standpoint, from anybody involved in sports, period. It is the largest franchise sale in sports history. And it is a lot of what ifs, a lot of unknowns. Is there going to be a fighters union? How's pay going to change? A lot's going to be hopefully addressed that a lot of fans, fighters, and journalists have questioned regarding the, not necessarily the ownership, but the way the UFC does business.
Well, thank you so much, Shaun, for coming on with me. That's going to wrap it up for today, but don't worry, guys. I'm about to record the podcast, Pure Evil MMA, which will be on iTunes tomorrow for everyone's morning commute to work, whether you're at the gym, you're on lunch break, wherever you are. I got you covered with MMA news. Make sure you guys subscribe down below. We're going to be making short clips of this video and our last video that we did to cover every topic that we talk about. So we'll make it nice and convenient for everyone. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Shaun, can you tell everyone one more time where they can find you?
CombatSportsNation.com. You can check me out or send me a friend request on Facebook. It is Shaun Gilday on Facebook. Combat Sports Nation on Facebook. Instagram. We love our Instagram. We don't have Periscope. We don't have Snapchat. We love our Instagram. We love our Twitter. We love our Facebook traffic. Go there for the walkouts and the official calls for Lions Fight, as well as all the fight highlights for UFC 200 and the previous shows this past week.
And thank you so much. One thing, if you guys, you don't have Twitter, I definitely recommend you get it if you're an MMA fan, to follow us, because a lot of MMA news is going on there. We interact with you right away. It's a great platform for any sport or entertainer. And the cool thing about it, you can hook your Facebook and your Instagram right up to it. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. You can find me on Twitter at Evil_Echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. I'm out. Shaun's out. You guys have a great day, and we will see you later. Have a good one, Shaun.
Thanks, Combat Sports Nation.